Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Cash Flow Positive. And today is going to be really special. I know a lot of you are driving or you're doing things while you're listening to this, and that actually might be a mistake because I have brought in a special guest. She is a social media coach for hosts, and she helps build their marketing brand and markets their properties. She has a lot of cool different services, and she's going to break down the ins and outs on how to drive more bookings to your property through social media marketing. This is Emily Lethco, and I personally use her services for marketing for STR Insights. And she is just a wealth of knowledge. And what I especially love about her is she breaks things down so simply to understand that you can easily apply them for yourself. So take notes, pay attention. This is a big time episode. So without further ado, Emily, tell us more about yourself.
Hi, my name is Emily Lethco, and I am a short-term rental host and owner as well. And I am a social media coach, and I strategize and help other hosts learn how to use social media marketing to increase their bookings and increase their revenue.
The first thing that caught my attention when you gave your introduction there is you're saying you're a social media coach and you're helping hosts essentially try to get more bookings. Great, that's the topic. How do you coach people? Because do people come to you and they already have some sort of knowledge and skill of how to do this, or are they completely new? What do you do?
So I started, the way that this all kind of came about is I was doing marketing for different things. And whenever I became a host myself, I saw the need to kind of start branding my property. And I liked using Airbnb, but I didn't want to only rely on Airbnb. I'm just more of somebody that wants to take ownership of their business and get email marketing, have my own website, all of those things. So I started using social media to showcase our transformation. We had a full renovation, and it was just really fun to show that process. I built the email list to over 100 people before we even opened our place for bookings. Yeah, so it was really neat to get that excitement going. And
Sorry, let's back up. How did you do that?
yeah, so
Everyone wants to know that.
So basically, I just shared the behind the scenes. Once I knew our cabin, we have a cabin in Sevierville in Tennessee. Once I knew the name of the cabin, I immediately created an Instagram for it. And I just started sharing the behind the scenes. I usually recommend people get in front of the camera, talk to the camera, but I didn't even really do that much. I was just sharing clips of the renovation and kind of talking people through of this property is going to be ready to rent. You can actually stay here. And I just took people on the journey. And so they felt a part of it. I mean, I would even do things where if we were working on our fireplace, I would say vote, do you guys like this tile or this tile? And it kind of gave people just an insight. They felt like they were helping build this cabin. And I tell people, I'm like, I don't think I would have actually listened to the poll. I already knew that I wanted this black tile fireplace, but it's cool to get people's inputs and all kinds of things through the process. I used email marketing software to create a form. And I said, make sure you're on our email list because that is where you're going to learn more about discounts as soon as we open. You have priority booking. So you definitely want to make your emails kind of that exclusive feature that people can opt in, and they are going to be your VIP people.
Yeah. No, that's really, really interesting. I am one of your social media clients, and I mentioned that kind of at the beginning here. And she helps me create content for STR Insights. And if you're not following me, go follow me at Kenny _ Bedwell. This is on Instagram, but the content and everything. So Emily helps strategize with me and helps me create that content. But for someone like me, when I got started and what you were kind of helping me realize, but I want, because the hosts are going to be kind of in the same mindset of, okay, you just created an Instagram account. How did you get people to follow you? How did you get people to follow this process and then get those emails? I mean, were they people who were already your friends, or how did you get new people to get into that kind of funnel?
The people that I've worked with before, I feel like it's a common thing. You kind of are maybe scared to share about your property, your business stuff to your friends and family. You kind of just want to keep that separate. But I encourage people throw that out the window. Your friends and family, they want to support you, and they may never even come stay at your property, but they are going to be the first people to if they hear about somebody needing somewhere to stay in that location, like they're going to remember that you have a property there. So like on my personal Facebook, where I've got, friends from high school, just everybody that I don't even talk to anymore. It's like I have a pinned post of my cabin on there because I want people to just remember that a lot of times people will feel more comfortable booking a place if they know somebody that knows somebody, and it's just that small connection. So that's really how I started. I made a personal Facebook post about me and my dad, how we were partnering together to do this cabin, follow along for the journey. Like I just invited people on the journey of it. And I got a few followers from that, and then just consistently posting, what we can get more into this, but I was definitely like interacting with local businesses, trying to grow in those kind of ways.
So what you're saying is that we don't have to do any like silly dances, like TikTok dances to get followers, right?
No, and like it will grow your account quicker if you can show up on camera, if you can talk, and if people can get to know you, it just builds that like, know, and trust so much faster. But it's not the only way. Like your brand can be just showing pretty pictures of your property. There's different ways. You have to find out like what works best for you and what you feel comfortable with.
That's really interesting. That gave me some ideas. I'm gonna write down. I'm gonna chat with you later. It gave me a good idea for something I want to do. Anyway, before you even launched the property, you had an email list that was growing. And so, how did you? Number one, I mean, share the technology that you use to, if you can.
Yeah.
But, what do you use to do all that?
I actually have an affiliate code I can share with you guys. It gets you half off of your first whole year, but it's Flowdesk. I've tried lots of different email marketing platforms, and I like some of things on different ones, but a lot of them are just too robust for what you really need just for your property. Flowdesk makes it so simple. The email templates they provide are like really clean and just easy to pop in your pictures. And then also it provides you where you can segment your audiences, because you want to be speaking to different groups of people depending on, have they stayed with you before? Are they repeat guests? Have they never stayed with you? Your language in your emails are going to be different. And people will pay attention to that. They will feel so much more seen and understood if your email copy is like, you already know they've stayed with you. You're talking to them as, a previous guest.
So Flowdesk, it's an email marketing, like you can send emails out.
Yep.
So how are you getting, so you created like a Google form, an Instagram or Facebook or whatever that people can like fill out for their emails to get in the email list, and then it goes straight into Flowdesk. Is that what you were kind of doing? Or
so actually you can just use Flowdesk. They make it really easy. You create a form, and what happens is you just create this basic form. They enter in their email, their name and email, and then you're going to tag them as a segment. So you can say, this is a new email subscriber tag. And then from there, you can set up a workflow. And that's where they enter the form, enter in their information. They immediately get triggered with a tag. And now they will immediately enter into your workflow. And your workflow is, it's an email funnel, but that sounds kind of complicated. It's not. It's just a sequence of emails, just, maybe 5 emails that you're going to be sending them over the span of 2 months. And it's just intentional marketing that you can set up beforehand, and then it's just all automated. And the way that you share this form, Flowdesk, when you make it on the form, it's just a link. So you're just sharing this link on your Facebook or in your stories on Instagram. You can have it in your bio on Instagram. And people will just click on that link, enter their information, and then boom, they're getting these emails.
Okay. I want to back up a little bit because you've given a lot of really good information here, some good nuggets on the process. And I think it's really important for people to understand the why you're doing it that way. And one of the biggest things that I want to mention here that I personally didn't understand when I got started with email marketing or just like marketing in general, doing like campaigns, and what you just said, a sequence of a series of emails, not one email, but 5. You said 5 emails. So what the heck are people saying in 5 emails over why 2 months? Why 5 emails? Yeah. Break that down for us.
Okay. So back to the why. on why are we trying to even get their email and all of that, I'll say, like, I love Airbnb. I love Instagram. I love
Hey,
all these.
Brian Chesky isn't listening, so you can say whatever you want. They don't listen to the podcast yet.
No,
So.
I'm just saying, the goal for me is not to like get my property off Airbnb and only do direct bookings. But the goal is to figure out how can we take more control of our property. Like, it's not an Airbnb, it's our short-term rental. And so I feel like the goal for Instagram is to get them off the platform. On Airbnb, get them off the platform, get them email. You're going to own this email, all their emails, to where you can actually communicate to them directly. And Instagram is so, like, there's so much going on that if you can get somebody to opt in and give their email to you, imagine like how few people they're actually doing that to. And if you get to show up in their inbox, once a month, twice a month, that's just like staying top of mind to them. And eventually they're hopefully going to book with you. So that's kind of the goal of why. The 5 emails that I send for that initial welcome, the way that I do it is, to get them to opt in, I want you to offer them something valuable. It's this exchange. We call it a lead magnet. You want to make sure that you're offering them something in exchange for that email. They're not just going to sign up for your newsletter. You have to make it enticing enough. So for me, with our cabin, when we launched it, they were going to get the best deal. They were going to get a discount. They were going to be the first to know. It was very VIP kind of. So you could create a freebie, like a free guide to your area. You could give a discount. You could say you get your 4th night free, anything like that you can think, what's something good enough that they're going to actually give me their email. At that point, you're going to set up your form, and whenever they sign up for that, you're going to tag them with, okay, they've signed up for this freebie. Like, you're going to understand, this is how I got their email and this is why they gave me their email. It was to get this discount or this free, whatever you were offering. And then your workflow is going to basically, that first email, you're just delivering what you promised. You're going to give them that discount or that freebie in that first email, and just kind of a welcome email. Then your next email, you can send out like 2 or 3 days later, and just kind of remind them who you are. You can do a more of an intro. You can share something about the location. The third email is going to be another value add. And you really need to think about your ideal guest and who that guest avatar is. What is something that they're actually going to open their email about? Is that a packing list? Is that the top 3 places you have to go as a family to this location? Like, really make it specific to who you're targeting. The 4th email can be another reminder about that freebie. Like, hey, what were your thoughts on that free guide we gave you? And then the 5th email is just, it's going to be a strong call to action. So you're going to say, book now. Like, you can even expire your discount code. You can say it's expiring now. Like, make sure to book now. And then when they complete that workflow, they're going to enter into your newsletter, where you can do once a month, twice a month newsletters, and they'll continue to get those, but they've completed that initial, like, strong, nurture sequence.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. I want to go back for a second and talk about the lead magnets, because I think in any business, a lot of people are under the impression in our industry. I see it all the time. Like, people, when they say, we're like, you need to run Facebook ads, and people are like, okay, so I take my property listing, whether it's on, first off, they'll take the Airbnb link or the VRBO link, and they'll put it into an ad and hopes like people just directly click on it, cold traffic, to book the property. And then they're like, well, is it even working? And you can't track that. First off, there has to be some sort of, like, you have to earn some sort of trust from cold traffic to even like want to book your place. But even then, when they see an ad, they're not like, oh, I'm planning on going to this area already, and therefore this place happened to pop up. So it's like, you got to get them turned on to the actual market first before your property.
Right.
So those lead magnets, like you were mentioning, were really, really cool. I've said this earlier. I've shared my screen before, and I talk about watching this on YouTube. I do want to have you guys watch on YouTube. The channel has changed. It's now Cashflow Positive Podcast has its own channel called Cashflow Positive. We got really creative with the channel name. But I want to show you guys, and Emily too. I kind of want to like brag Emily. But this is the lead magnet that I created for my property in Watkins Glen, New York. Okay. So, what the lead magnet says for those of you who are listening, I don't want you to get in a wreck and watch this on YouTube while you're listening in the car. So, I'll talk you through it, but go home, watch this because you can create the same thing and do exactly what she's talking about. And I love all the other email sequence. I mean, like I haven't thought that far, but like Emily already has it all laid out. So she broke it all down for you. But I want to show you guys, this is a guidebook, but it's not just a guidebook. It's not a guidebook for my property. It's a guidebook for the area. And so it's got like how to get to how to get to the area. But then what we created is an itinerary of 7-day trips for every single month of the year. So literally, like, what can you do in Watkins Glen during any month of the year? Look, there are things to do in February. And so what we're going to do is run, it's every single month. We're going to run ads on this guidebook to collect emails to get them into a nurturing sequence and do everything what Emily was saying. And then we have like a list of other, was this 10? No, more things. I think there's like 20 things to do on top of it. Festivals. It's just an activity guidebook of the area. Nowhere does it mention I have an Airbnb or a property. Come stay at my place. None of that crap yet. That will be later down the road. But I want people to I want emails is the goal. I want to get in front of people and get that recognition and show people what it is that, like priming them to get excited about the area first. And then, slip into their DMs, but, then send them like, hey, you're planning on coming here. You're excited about coming here. Here's the top places to stay. And then your place happens to be one of the top places to stay. And then everything else is like, crappy or something. So it's
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I want to show people that because I think it's important that we all create things that aren't focused just on the property. And so, Emily, I would send it back to you on that. I don't need the kudos. We can talk about it offline. But what are your thoughts on, or how do you make people in your email sequences in your marketing make it less property driven and more market driven?
Right. Yeah. So my cabin is called Evergreen Hideaway, but that means nothing to the normal person. So it's kind of like I want to teach them about it and show them about it and show them reviews about it and help them to understand that. But I don't want that initially isn't going to, perk their ears up. Like we have to talk about, we're in the Smoky Mountains. So that's a pretty easy, search engine optimized keyword that we're using of even Sevierville, but we're in the Smoky Mountains. And so that is where people are coming, and that's where I have a place to provide for them. So I'm talking to people in the Smokies, and then not only that location, but also if you have a specific guest avatar, which you should, of who are you hosting and who is your property meant for, then you can really start to talk about those types of things that they're going to be interested in. So for us, we host a lot of couples and small families. So something that we talk about are like the attractions in the Smokies. And some of my clients, they've got like much larger cabins and they host a lot of multi-generational families. And so we've created guides where it's like a guide of what to do in the Smokies as somebody, much older and then like younger kids. So we want them to understand we're creating this guide for the grandparents that are, going to have their whole family that the little kids can do activities too. So you really need to get specific with that of what is something that is really going to appeal to your future guests, not about your property, but they're already planning their trip to come to that area. So how can you hone in on that and help give them guidance to their trip? And then, oh yeah, we've got this place to stay if you want more details.
Yeah, it's all about like the thing that people need to realize is like people aren't coming to the area to stay at your place. They're coming to the area to experience the area.
Yeah.
So your job isn't actually to just market your property. It's to market the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And be top of mind when people decide to, okay, yes, we are excited to go to that area, whether it's a beach or I know I have some people listening who are on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. And I was sitting, I was on a flight to New York, and I sat next to this gentleman. The stewardess came through and was like, "What do you guys want to drink?" And he ordered Buffalo Trace, which is a type of bourbon. And I was like, "Cool. I actually am under contract with a property that's like 10 minutes away from that distillery." And I was talking about bourbon, and and I was like, "Have you ever gone on a tour there?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think we're like planning on going there." And I was like, "Yeah," like telling him I've never personally I'll be there in a couple weeks to check out the property, but I've never personally like done any tours. I don't drink, I don't do any of that, but I know so much about that area from research and data for short-term rentals. I start telling him about all the stuff to do in the area, and he's like, "Oh wow, like I didn't know you could do that." And then he starts asking me questions as if I'm like a local or something. Well, like know the
Yeah.
area. And he's like, "Well, that sounds like, man, we can do all that stuff and be in the certain area." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Where's the best locations to stay at?" And I'm like, "Honestly, you need to." And I started showing him some of our clients' Airbnbs and stuff. And I was like, "This one's really good. It sleeps this many, I'm like going through this, it's
Yeah.
really near these places." And so it started with something he liked, which was bourbon and this particular style of bourbon or whatever it is, and then turned into so building that trust and value behind that, the experience, and then talking about all the other things on it. And then it led to the discussion. Okay, well, I got to go. Where do
Yeah.
I go? How do I get there? What airport are you flying into? Like all those different things, answering those questions, building that trust, and then they're going to stay with you. They're going
Yeah.
to stay at your place.
That's a perfect, like, that happened in person, and then you
Yeah.
can do that through email too. It's like the exact same flow, the nurturing of
Yeah.
that.
I mean, he was kind of like, he was sitting next to me, and it was a 45-minute flight.
Yeah.
So he was stuck with, but I wasn't like pushing anything, but he was just, after we started talking
Yeah.
and caught his interest, he was genuinely wanted to know more and was excited about this trip. So just some, some additional nuggets for those of you who are listening and for any of your markets. It's not about your property. It's about the area and the guest experience. How does your property highlight that and help with that? So you've you've done this like nurturing process, and you've gotten these people into your list. How often, how frequently are you hitting them? Yeah, let's answer that first, and then we'll go back to the social media side as well, because I think that's important. But go ahead.
I only have one property that I'm marketing through this email. So I do once a month newsletters, and that's just like a valuable newsletter where, again, about the location, the area. We do highlights of the actual cabin, just like amenities that they'll have. I usually share like a review or two. I also always, even though I want more direct bookings, I do always share our Airbnb booking just as like a checkpoint for them, like just they can just make sure they see real reviews. It's sometimes people will see the Airbnb and then they'll go book direct to save money on fees. But I always like to show both options for people. Oh, and what's really cool about it is based on my calendar, my occupancy, if somebody cancels a booking or something like that happens, I can immediately go to my email list and make sure that they're aware of this open date that just came available. Or, if we don't have that weekend booked or Thanksgiving still available, something like that, I can definitely just pop in a new email. So that would be like 2 or, possibly 3 going out. I try to not send more than 3 a month for this. Yeah.
You have a direct booking site,
Mhm.
right? So what do you use? What's the best platform
Yeah.
you found?
So my property management software is OwnerRez. I just started, like, whenever I was starting all this, I did a lot of research, and it seemed like OwnerRez was kind of the more robust one that was going to provide like everything I needed. Now knowing like I just have one property, I kind of think maybe when you're getting started, I recommend just start with Airbnb, get that flowing. I don't think you really need a PMS from the get-go, but it is something you can add on later. But I just like to get started from the beginning of like everything I need.
Well, yeah, we had a whole episode, I think, a couple weeks ago with Cody Wood. For those of you who haven't heard that episode yet, he does like operations for short term rentals, and he said the exact same thing you said. So he's run like over 180 properties at one time, and he's like, "Look, 1 to 5, you don't need a PMS. You don't need to worry about that out the gate. Get started, speed. And so, anyway, just kind of highlight that whole.
And you can still do everything we're talking about today with the email marketing, social media.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can do all of that with your Airbnb link to book. I have OwnerRez, so they provide, and I know a lot of the PMS that do have like their own direct booking site. So that's just what we use. I'm not crazy about it, but again, it's one property. If I had more than 5, I would definitely have a more cohesive, like beautiful website.
You'd have to, right?
Yeah.
You'd have
Yeah.
to. So it makes sense. So are you using OwnerRez's like templates for their direct booking site?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I use Market My SDR. The reason I use it, it is a good platform. I think it's too intense for the person who has a few properties. You really don't need an elaborate CRM. I think what you're saying with Flowdesk. What's Flowdesk? What's the cost of Flowdesk?
It's like $40 a month, I think.
Yeah, Markham STR is like 200. So
Yeah.
valuable. They use Go High Level. It's super awesome platform. You've got complicated operations and lots of emails and lots of sequences and stuff you need to run. Definitely recommend going to that level, but you don't need to start there. Okay. I use it because I got it for free. So, I take advantage of it. But if I didn't, I have Hospitable. And I talked about this on an earlier episode too, of Hospitable kind of being that like in between like full on property management software and like having everything you need to get started. And they now provide direct booking templates. So, but the lesson here, guys, I think that what Emily's saying is keep it simple. You don't need to get crazy with it. You don't need to go hire somebody for $5,000 or whatever these people are charging. You can find these services, these sites that are already get a basic setup, because your marketing isn't necessarily, you're not relying on your marketing on your site. It's done in your nurturing and your ad campaigns and all the other stuff going on. Would you agree with that, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah. So your Airbnb link that you're sharing to book with you and your website, that's like where the conversion is happening. So yes, it's important. You want people to feel secure, like putting in their card information, all that. And so Airbnb is nice because it's already got that built-in trust factor. By the time when they're getting to your website, hopefully by the time they're clicking like that book now button, they've already been nurtured. They already understand, like they're really interested to see, okay, how much is this going to cost per night, that kind of thing. So yes, the conversion aspect, the website does need to be like a seamless, like easy to use. But by the time they get there, that's where we've got to focus, is like drawing them in on our social media, to our email marketing, that type of thing.
Yeah. I love that. I do want to go back to the social media side because it does seem like just breaking this down, you start with social media, either ads or you have a profile and you're doing videos and other stuff. And then you're trying to get people into a funnel, which is your emails, right? And the nurturing to essentially sell them to booking your place. Is that the right, like, in a sense?
Yeah, I always start with organic though marketing. I don't think you should just like boom go to ads. I would rather you see like organic traffic coming in, see what's working, and that way the ads will just kind of complement all the work you're doing organically.
Okay, and I love that. So let's go back to that, because so we talked about when you started, you got people inside the email list about, hey, we're going to be launching this, get inside our newsletter. But now that it's launched, how do you get people to go from Instagram or Facebook or wherever you've got your social media promotions to, not promotions, but the organic side, to your actual email list?
It's really like what we talked about with the guides and things like that. So you can always put that link to that form to opt into that free guide or the discount. You can put that in your link in bio on Instagram and on Facebook. You can just make sure that that's like a pinned post on your business Facebook page. And then I've seen way more success with Instagram, even like TikTok. And I think the Facebook business pages, not that they're dying, but I just feel like people are more engaged with the video content and the scrolling up and the reels. And so I would put more of your energy toward those platforms. And again, think about your ideal guests, like where are they hanging out? Where are they going to see your property? The cool thing about social media is that when we have our Airbnb listing, you can only show so much of your property.
Mm.
But when you bring it over onto social media, you get to show everything. Like you get to show behind the scenes. You can talk to the camera, like especially if you're self-managing and you're a very like active host and you go to the property, that's really cool to showcase. You can show transformation photos. Like people love to see what that property used to look like when you first bought it and how you went through that process. Even if you didn't show it in real time, if you have all that footage, you can create some really cool videos or even photos to show, the before and the after. You can go back and use that old footage and just take people on that journey of like where you were 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago. So it's just really cool to get to know, or people can land on your page and like get to really know the property and see all that it has to offer. You can also show the location. Like you can, if you are in the area and you go to restaurants or you go to an attraction, record, film everything. And you don't have to post it right then, but just keep that footage going that you'll have in your back pocket to create later. You can show, for us, we go to Dollywood a lot. And so every time I'm there, I take a few clips, just to show our time there. And that is marketing for my property because I get to showcase Dollywood and what a fun time it is with my family. But you can do that too. You can stay at our cabin and you can go have fun with your family at Dollywood. And here's how that would look.
And you can write off your trip to Dollywood, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What recommendations do you have for people who are maybe hosting from afar, who don't go to their property very often?
So a lot of times, I do have like a content calendar that I share with hosts that gives them ideas. And a lot of times what that will look like is the real idea, the video idea will be like you sit down and work on your computer and film yourself. And that's kind of B-roll. That's like just behind the scenes. And that's you working as a host, but you could be, 3 hours or 10 hours away from your property and people don't need to know that. So you can definitely intertwine like footage of your property that somebody else may have grabbed for you. And then you working can look like on your computer at a coffee shop, in the car, like however you want that to look. You don't actually have to physically be at your property.
I think too, you could. So one thing for me and some of the stuff that I do is like inspiration and Instagram is, go follow people who do similar things, who are established, who have, who are accomplishing what you want to accomplish, and go see what their content's like,
Yeah.
and then just copy it.
Yeah.
Style, different
And a lot of
property, but it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. A lot of like social media is a lot of trial and error and just kind of like, and that's why tracking your analytics is so important to, like Kenny and I, we go through his monthly review every month to see, okay, that worked, this didn't, let's tweak it here. So I do like really encourage you, if you're going to be spending time marketing your property and you're spending that effort, make sure every month at least you're looking and reflecting back on, okay, this posted really well, this one tanked, like what was the difference, how do I create more of that content that was working. And I always recommend too finding content that you actually enjoy creating too, that makes it fun, because that's going to keep you going and keep you like being consistent in
Mm.
this. And so, yes, I want you to do like what's working, what your audience is relating to, but also keep in mind like what's something that you can stay consistent with and you can actually upkeep. So yeah, I always want social media to be something you enjoy and more creative and fun instead of exhausting and energy draining.
Cool. Well, as we're kind of wrapping up things here, Emily. So first off, do you offer services that help hosts with the social media marketing? You're obviously very knowledgeable. What do you have for people?
Yeah, so I've got the content calendar. That's just something like you can do it 1 month or you can do that every month. I provide fresh content calendars every 2 weeks for specifically short-term rental hosts. So that's a great way to get started. Just it gives you ideas. You don't have to, it's everyday posting, but you can just kind of pull from that. And it gives you real ideas. It gives you like links to audio that you can use for trending audio, all kinds of things like that. And then I also have an Instagram course right now. That is a 7-lesson course. And I talk about kind of everything we've talked about today, but I show you like how to make a reel. I show you what your bio should look like what should your Airbnb listing, like, let's make sure that's as optimized for when people actually land there. Are they going to convert? We also talk about email marketing in that course. I talk you through Flowdesk. I talk you through how to look at your analytics. What should you be tracking? The reason I created that is I started with full service social media where I was taking it off the host's hands and I was doing it all for them. And I still offer that. It's just a little bit more expensive to where you really need more like 5+ properties to hire it all out to make it make sense. And if that's you, and if you want to talk further about like if you are a co-host and you're a property manager, like those are the accounts that I love, like just taking that off your hands for you. But if you're hosting and you've got just 1 or 2 properties and you want to learn how to do it yourself or learn and like give it to a VA to kind of help you do, then the course is like, that's the perfect option for you.
Gotcha. Okay. Great. So how do people find this stuff?
So the Profitable Host, that's what all my courses will be at, theprofitablehost.com. And then you can also follow me at Emily Lethco on Instagram.
There we go. All right. So theprofitablehost.com, and obviously follow Emily. And then, as I've stated several times, I use Emily for my stuff. So there you go. I'm a walking testimonial. So, so awesome. Well, Emily, as we wrap up here, last question I love to ask every single guest we have. What is one way? It doesn't have to be about marketing. It could be something you haven't talked about. Doesn't matter. What's one way that people can cash flow positive with their short-term rental properties?
I think my biggest tip is just being consistent, and that is with marketing, but that's just across the board. And the way that I try to stay consistent on things is, and it's really hard to do this sometimes, but I try to make sure I'm being realistic with not my goals. Like, I want you to dream big, but I'm realistic with the tasks that I can achieve in that day or that week. And I'm just really honest with myself, like, what can I actually get done in that day? And just stay consistent every single day, every single week that you can. And that is what I have seen for social media, especially. Like, I've been doing this 8 years now, and it's just like, you just keep showing up, but do what you can manage. If that's 2 posts a week, then stay consistent with that.
I really like that consistency. Yeah. Yep. I can definitely attest to that as well. And so all different types of things, email marketing, social media, podcasts, trying to be consistent there. And it's challenging, but I think a lot of it has to do with like your priorities. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? If you don't have a goal behind it, it's really hard to stay consistent and, do it for the long haul. So yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Emily. We loved having you on here and hearing your advice and stuff. And I wrote down some notes. What's really funny is when I do these interviews with people, I bring these experts in, I ask the questions, like, for those listening, like, I don't really come as prepared as I should. I probably should, but I know these people usually pretty well. And so I kind of have an idea. So we get on, we have discussions, but I approach it from the standpoint of me learning as well, and I'm like taking notes. And I'm like, man, I could totally do that, and I'm like getting excited about it. So same thing here. Appreciate the nuggets provided, Emily. And for those of you listening, if you've enjoyed this episode, once again, I did share my screen and show you a really cool lead magnet that you can go copy and steal. I don't really care. Maybe I'll try to post it somewhere where you guys can use it. And go check out the YouTube channel. Subscribe to Cashflow Positive YouTube channel. It's new. We just put all the episodes on there. So be sure to be one of the first people to subscribe. Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cashflow Positive, and I'll see you on the next one.